Question 1. Who is primarily accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team? A. The Scrum Master. B. The product owner. C. The development team. D. The project manager. Answer: B. The product owner. The product owner is singularly accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team, making crucial decisions regarding product direction and content. This involves effectively managing the product backlog, ensuring it is transparent, visible, and understood by all. For example, a product owner for an e-commerce site would decide which features, like a new payment method or improved search, are most valuable to implement next. Always remember the product owner is the voice of the customer and the value maximizer in Scrum. Question 2. What is the main purpose of the daily Scrum? A. To report progress to the Scrum Master. B. To replan the next 24 hours of sprint work. C. To review the increment created in the previous day. D. To resolve all impediments identified by the development team. Answer: B. To replan the next 24 hours of sprint work. The daily Scrum is a 15-minute time-boxed event for the development team to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary, replanning the next 24 hours of work. It is not a status meeting for the Scrum Master, but rather a self-organizing meeting for the development team to synchronize activities and make adjustments. Think of it as a quick huddle where the team coordinates their efforts to stay on track for the sprint goal. The daily Scrum helps maintain transparency and allows for rapid adjustments to the plan. Question 3. Which Scrum value emphasizes the courage to do the right thing and work on tough problems? A. Openness. B. Focus. C. Respect. D. Courage. Answer: D. Courage. Courage is a core Scrum value that enables the development team to do the right thing, work on difficult problems, and experiment without fear of failure. It means having the bravery to say no to unreasonable demands, address complex technical issues, and provide transparent feedback even when it's challenging. For instance, a team demonstrates courage when they admit they cannot meet a commitment and negotiate a more realistic scope. Embracing courage helps foster an environment where honest communication and continuous improvement can thrive. Question 4. What is the typical duration for a sprint in Scrum? A. Exactly 1 month. B. 2 weeks. C. 1 to 4 weeks. D. As long as needed to complete a feature. Answer: C. 1 to 4 weeks. Sprints have a consistent duration of 1 to 4 weeks, chosen by the Scrum team, throughout the development effort to create consistency and predictability. This fixed length allows the team to establish a regular rhythm, inspect progress frequently, and adapt quickly. For example, if a team consistently chooses a 2-week sprint, they will perform all Scrum events and deliver a new increment every 2 weeks. Shorter sprints generally mean more frequent learning cycles and faster feedback. Question 5. Who is responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum, including coaching the organization in its Scrum adoption? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The development team. D. The project manager. Answer: B. The Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is a servant leader for the Scrum team and the organization, responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum by helping everyone understand Scrum theory, practices, rules, and values. This includes coaching stakeholders and ensuring the Scrum framework is understood and enacted effectively. For example, a Scrum Master might educate a new manager on how to interact with a Scrum team without disrupting their self-organization. The Scrum Master guides the organization in its journey to embrace Agile principles. Question 6. What artifact provides a transparent, high-level view of all the work to be done for the product? A. Sprint backlog. B. Product backlog. C. Increment. D. burn-down chart? Answer, B, product backlog. The product backlog is an ordered list of everything that might be needed in the product, serving as the single source of requirements for any changes to be made to the product. It is constantly refined and represents the work awaiting development, providing a transparent view of potential future functionality. For instance, a product backlog for a mobile app might list items like user login, secure payment gateway, and push notifications. Keeping the product backlog clear and ordered is key to effective product development. Question 7. Which event's primary purpose is to inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed? A. Sprint planning. B. Daily Scrum. C. Sprint review. D. Sprint retrospective. Answer, C. Sprint review. The sprint review is a collaborative working session where the Scrum team and stakeholders inspect the increment produced during the sprint and adapt the product backlog as needed. It's an opportunity to gather feedback and determine future product direction based on what has been built. For example, if the team built a new search feature, stakeholders would provide feedback on its usability and suggest improvements during this event. The sprint review helps ensure the product evolves in the most valuable direction. Question 8. What is the definition of done? A. A checklist of tasks to be completed before a sprint ends. B. A formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. C. A list of all the product backlog items that have been completed. D. The point at which the product owner accepts the increment. Answer, B. A formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. The definition of done is a shared understanding within the Scrum team of what it means for work to be complete and of high quality, serving as a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets all necessary quality measures. It ensures transparency and defines when an increment is truly ready for release. For example, done might include code reviewed, tested, and documentation updated. Having a clear definition of done helps ensure consistency and prevent misunderstandings about the increment's readiness. Question 9. Who is accountable for managing the sprint backlog? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The development team. D. The entire Scrum team. Answer, C. The development team. The development team is solely accountable for managing the sprint backlog, which is a highly visible, real-time picture of the work that the development team plans to accomplish during the sprint. They self-organize to complete the work necessary to achieve the sprint goal. For example, during a sprint, the development team decides how to break down product backlog items into smaller tasks within the sprint backlog and how to allocate those tasks among themselves. This accountability reinforces their self-managing nature. Question 10. Which of the following is not a characteristic of a Scrum development team? A. Self-organizing. B. Cross-functional. C. Managed by the Scrum Master. D. Accountable for delivering a done increment. Answer, C. Managed by the Scrum Master. A Scrum development team is self-organizing, meaning they internally decide who does what, when, and how, without being directed by the Scrum Master. They are also cross-functional, possessing all the skills needed to create an increment, and are collectively accountable for delivering a done increment. The Scrum Master serves the team, coaches them, and removes impediments, but does not manage or direct their work. Remember, in Scrum, teams are empowered to manage themselves. Question 11. What Scrum event creates the sprint goal? A. Daily Scrum. B. Sprint review. C. Sprint planning. D. Sprint retrospective. Answer, C. Sprint planning. Sprint planning is the event where the entire Scrum team collaborates to define the sprint goal, which is an objective for the sprint to be met through the implementation of the product backlog. The sprint goal provides guidance and flexibility, allowing the development team to self-organize the work needed to achieve it. For instance, a sprint goal might be, enable users to securely log into the application. The sprint goal gives the sprint focus and coherence. Question 12. What is the role of the Scrum Master during the sprint retrospective? A. To tell the development team what to improve in the next sprint. B. To facilitate the event and ensure it is positive and productive. C. To report the team's impediments to management. D. To prioritize the improvements identified by the team. Answer: B. To facilitate the event and ensure it is positive and productive. During the sprint retrospective, the Scrum Master facilitates the event, ensuring it is within the time box and that the team understands its purpose. Their role is to foster an environment where the team can openly inspect how the last sprint went regarding individuals, interactions, processes, and tools, and identify continuous improvements. For example, a Scrum Master might guide the team to brainstorm solutions to recurring communication issues. The Scrum Master does not direct the improvements but helps the team find their own solutions. Question 13. What is the primary focus of the sprint retrospective? A. To inspect the product increment and adapt the product backlog. B. To plan the work to be performed in the next sprint. C. To inspect how the last sprint went and identify improvements for the next sprint. D. To resolve major impediments blocking the development team. Answer: C. To inspect how the last sprint went and identify improvements for the next sprint. The sprint retrospective is a time-boxed event at the end of each sprint where the Scrum team inspects itself and creates a plan for improvements to be enacted during the next sprint. Its purpose is continuous improvement of processes, tools, and interactions. For example, if a team realizes their daily stand-ups are too long, they would discuss and commit to a change in the retrospective. This dedicated time ensures that the team consistently learns and evolves. Question 14. An impediment is something that blocks the development team from accomplishing its sprint goal. Who is primarily responsible for removing impediments? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The development team. D. The stakeholders. Answer: B. The Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is primarily responsible for removing impediments that hinder the development team's progress, acting as a servant leader to help the team achieve its sprint goal. While the development team may identify impediments, it's the Scrum Master's accountability to ensure they are addressed. For instance, if the team needs specific software licenses to proceed, the Scrum Master would work to acquire them. This allows the development team to stay focused on building the increment without getting bogged down by external blockers. Question 15. What does the term self-organizing mean for a Scrum development team? A. They organize their own physical workspace. B. They manage themselves and their work to best accomplish the sprint goal. C. They choose their own team members. D. They decide which product features to build next. Answer: B. They manage themselves and their work to best accomplish the sprint goal. Self-organizing means that the development team decides how best to accomplish the work and achieve the sprint goal, rather than being directed by others. They collaboratively determine how to break down tasks, assign responsibilities, and coordinate their efforts. For example, if a team has multiple stories to complete, they will decide amongst themselves who works on what and how they will collaborate. This autonomy fosters ownership and creativity within the team. Question 16. How often should the product backlog be refined? A. Once per sprint, during sprint planning. B. As needed, continuously throughout the project. C. Only before the start of a new project. D. Every other sprint. Answer: B. As needed, continuously throughout the project. Product backlog refinement is an ongoing activity, not a formal event, where the product owner and development team add detail, estimates, and order to product backlog items. This continuous process ensures the backlog remains ready, clear, and relevant, preventing bottlenecks and ensuring clarity for upcoming sprints. For example, the team might spend a few hours each week breaking down large items or re-estimating others based on new information. Regular refinement ensures the product backlog is always a useful planning tool. Question 17. Which of the following best describes the accountability of the product owner regarding the product backlog? A. To ensure product backlog items are assigned to development team members. B. To clearly express product backlog items and order them to best achieve goals. C. To update the sprint backlog daily. D. To only add items that are technically feasible. Answer: B. To clearly express product backlog items and order them to best achieve goals. The product owner is accountable for the product backlog, which includes clearly expressing items, ordering them to best achieve goals and missions, and ensuring the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood. Their focus is on maximizing the value of the product by prioritizing what is most important to build next. For example, a product owner would decide whether to prioritize a bug fix or a new feature based on its impact on value. This responsibility is central to the product owner's role. Question 18. What is the purpose of the sprint goal? A. To ensure all product backlog items selected for the sprint are completed. B. To provide the development team with flexibility regarding the functionality implemented within the sprint. C. To allow the product owner to change the sprint backlog during the sprint. D. To serve as a commitment for the product owner to deliver specific features. Answer: B. To provide the development team with flexibility regarding the functionality implemented within the sprint. The sprint goal is an objective set for the sprint that provides a flexible target for the development team. It encourages collaboration and allows the team to adapt the scope of selected product backlog items if necessary to achieve the overarching goal, rather than rigidly adhering to a fixed list. For example, if the sprint goal is enable secure user authentication, the team might adjust specific login features as long as the core goal is met. The sprint goal provides focus and allows for adaptive planning. Question 19. When is a new increment produced in Scrum? A. At the end of every other sprint. B. Only when the product owner approves a release. C. At least once every sprint. D. Only after multiple sprints accumulate enough features. Answer: C. At least once every sprint. An increment is the sum of all the product backlog items completed during a sprint and the value of the increments of all previous sprints. It must be done, meaning it is usable and potentially releasable, regardless of whether the product owner chooses to release it. Therefore, at least one new, potentially releasable increment is created at the end of every sprint. This continuous delivery of valuable product pieces is a hallmark of Scrum. Question 20. What is the role of the Scrum Master in fostering self-organization within the development team? A. To assign tasks to individual team members. B. To dictate the team's process improvements. C. To coach the team in organizational environments where Scrum is not yet fully adopted and understood. D. To approve the team's decisions before implementation. Answer: C. To coach the team in organizational environments where Scrum is not yet fully adopted and understood. The Scrum Master fosters self-organization by coaching the development team and the organization on how to implement and benefit from Scrum principles. This includes removing impediments, teaching effective practices, and guiding the team to make their own decisions. For example, a Scrum Master might help a team facilitate their own daily Scrum more effectively. Their role is to enable and support, not to control, the team's self-organizing efforts. Question 21. What happens if the development team realizes during a sprint that they cannot meet the sprint goal? A. They should extend the sprint until the goal is met. B. They should inform the product owner to negotiate with stakeholders. C. They should immediately cancel the sprint. D. They should work with the product owner to renegotiate the scope of the sprint backlog items with stakeholders. Answer: D. they should work with the product owner to renegotiate the scope of the sprint backlog items with stakeholders. If the development team realizes they cannot meet the sprint goal, they should immediately communicate this transparency to the product owner. The product owner and development team then collaborate to renegotiate the scope of the selected sprint backlog items with stakeholders to achieve the sprint goal or a modified version, avoiding sprint cancellation unless absolutely necessary. For example, they might descope a less critical feature to ensure a core component is delivered. This collaborative approach allows for adaptation while striving for the sprint goal. Question 22. What is not a characteristic of the Scrum Master as a servant leader? A. Facilitating Scrum events as requested or needed. B. Dictating the team's technical solutions. C. Helping the development team create high-value products. D. Coaching the development team in self-organization and cross-functionality. Answer: B. Dictating the team's technical solutions. A Scrum Master acts as a servant leader, supporting the team and organization, but never dictates technical solutions or controls the development team's work. Their role is to coach, facilitate, and remove impediments to enable the team to be effective. For instance, a Scrum Master might guide a discussion on architectural options but would never impose a specific design choice on the team. The Scrum Master empowers the team to make their own technical decisions. Question 23. Who is accountable for the product backlog item size, estimation, and ordering? A. The development team is solely accountable for estimation and size, while the product owner is accountable for ordering. B. The product owner is solely accountable for all three. C. The Scrum Master is accountable for estimation, the product owner for ordering, and the development team for size. D. The entire Scrum team shares accountability for all three. Answer: A. The development team is solely accountable for estimation and size, while the product owner is accountable for ordering. The product owner is accountable for ordering the product backlog items to maximize value, meaning they decide what is worked on next. However, the development team is solely accountable for the size and estimates of the product backlog items they select for the sprint, as they are the ones who will do the work and understand the technical effort involved. For example, the product owner might want a login feature by a certain date, but the development team will estimate how complex that feature is and how much work it entails. This division of accountability leverages expertise effectively. Question 24. Which of the following best describes the Scrum team? A. A collection of individuals who report to the project manager. B. A self-managing, cross-functional unit of people who deliver products. C. A group of specialists who work independently on their assigned tasks. D. A hierarchy with the product owner at the top, followed by the Scrum Master and development team. Answer: B. A self-managing, cross-functional unit of people who deliver products. The Scrum team is a cohesive unit consisting of a product owner, a Scrum Master, and development team members. They are self-managing, deciding internally how to best accomplish their work, and cross-functional, possessing all the necessary skills to create an increment. They work collaboratively to deliver valuable products, without traditional hierarchical structures. Think of them as a small, highly effective sports team working together towards a common goal. Question 25. What is the primary indicator of progress in Scrum? A. The time elapsed. B. The number of tasks completed. C. The delivery of a done, usable increment. D. The amount of documentation produced. Answer: C. The delivery of a done, usable increment. In Scrum, the primary indicator of progress is the frequent delivery of done, usable increments that add value to the product. Unlike traditional methods that might track progress by task completion or time spent, Scrum emphasizes working software that meets the definition of done and can potentially be released. For example, instead of just reporting that coding for a feature is 50% complete, a Scrum team focuses on having a fully tested and integrated feature that works. This focus ensures real value is being created and validated regularly.